Welcome. I'm Kinetic Symphony. I hunt down and report on mysterious and weird true stories, from glitches to the paranormal. Case file number 148, written by AdamHoleBayBay, a memory as strong as iron that only he remembers. My friend of the past 5 years never existed. So this is going to sound crazy, but here goes. Around 5 years ago, I moved to a new school during my senior year of high school. I didn't necessarily have trouble making friends as I joined the football team and they were all very welcoming of me. I enrolled in this sort of advanced PE class that was for the athletes in the school. That's when I met a dude named Tyler, who was a grade younger than me and was also on the football team. We instantly got along and he became probably my best friend at the entire school. We would hang out outside of the school, but for some reason, he never wanted to come over to my house and never wanted me to come over to his house. I didn't think too much of it. Anyway, I graduated that year and we haven't really talked much since then. We would occasionally text about the NFL, but nothing more than that. I had a dream last night about the guy, and when I woke up, I figured I would text him and see how he was doing. The problem is, I couldn't find his contact in my phone. That's not uncommon, as I've had several new phones since I was in high school. I asked some of my old high school buddies if they had Tyler's number, and they acted like they had no idea who I was talking about. I even searched social media to see if I can contact him through that, but still, I couldn't find him. I was feeling like I was losing my mind, so I asked one of my old buddies if they found him in the yearbook from that year, and he said that he could not. I didn't bother to purchase a yearbook that year because that was my only year at the school. I even checked out Max Preps, a website that recorded high school football rosters and stats, but I didn't find him on there either. After a couple hours of syncing iCloud photo data to my phone, I ended up finding a picture of me and him, but nobody seems to recognize him. Here is a link to a picture of me and him back in 2016. I have no idea what is going on, and I was wondering if anybody has shared a similar experience. Edit. A couple of people have messaged me asking if I got his name confused. I guess it's possible, but I have a pretty solid memory of the guy's name because his first name was my middle name, and we used to call each other Tyler at the mall and stuff to confuse people. I absolutely remember his last name too. After requesting a records request from my high school, they told me they could not give out any personal data, but they did say nobody by that name ever attended the school. Also, after paying a professional website to go through the one picture I had of him, they could not find any matches anywhere. After talking to several people from my high school from social media, all but one person said they had no recollection of him. The one other person said they did remember me hanging out with one specific kid that he couldn't remember, but couldn't verify if it was Tyler. This whole experience has me pretty mind blown. I really do appreciate everyone's comments and messages. The most plausible explanation here is that he was possibly in witness protection. But wouldn't more people remember him, especially being on the football team at a rather large public high school? Speaking of which, I've combed through pictures and rosters from several websites of our team, and there's no trace of him anywhere. Sometimes there are things in life that are genuinely unexplainable. However, sometimes you just have to accept these conditions, which I'm slowly learning to do. Thank you all for helping me on this bizarre mental journey. Case notes, file number 148. So yeah, WWII is a logical possibility, and with the picture evidence, you know he existed. He's a real human being, and this isn't some quantum crossover event where you're in a new universe, because then the picture wouldn't exist in this timeline. The cloud sync wouldn't have produced it if Tyler didn't exist in that timeline. It is possible Tyler mostly kept to himself to keep himself protected as part of WWII. But if he was on the football team, I guess he broke that rule. And as you said, people would have remembered him. It's also possible that teachers were told to keep it under wraps. I'm not sure WWII would be able to control a private website's ability to scan for his image on the web though. So the fact they didn't turn up anything is another wrench in the theory. Case file number 149, written by doublestylerz, a friend, the night, and an invisible presence. So I live in Poland, and this story happened to me in 2005. At that time, I was 18 years old. Since my dad died and my siblings left the family house a few years later, we lived only with my mom. But at that time, Halloween night, but in Poland we're not celebrating it. We celebrate All the Saints, that is next day. She went to my older sister, who lives in Warsaw, to see Pułaski Cemetery. So as a smart and responsible teenager, I asked my, at the time, best friend and neighbor, let's call him Andrew, to come over for some beer, etc. He was up for it, but had some stuff to do, so he was about to come later. I went back home and ate some dinner. It was like 7 or 8 p.m., so not that late, and went to get a shower. When I almost finished, I heard the front door closing, so I yelled at him to sit and wait for me to dry myself. And then it hit me. I locked the front door before I got into the shower, and he didn't respond when I yelled. At this point, I should mention that maybe not only my house, but the entire area around my house, and I mean like nearby villages, is full of spooky stories. I'm not some super believer in the paranormal, so I wasn't scared out easy at this time. But I was pretty sure I will encounter someone when I leave the bathroom. But guess what? No one there. My friend arrived like 15 or 20 minutes later, so I let him in, but I didn't mention to him about that weird event. So we sat in the kitchen with beer, and we laugh, etc. But I see that something's wrong with Andrew. When I asked what's wrong, he just said, "Can we go to your room? I feel like someone is staring at me." Anyway, that got me pretty creeped out for some stuff that happened before in my house, but we'll explain that at the end. So I double checked whether the front door was locked, and we went to my room. We watched some funny movies on YouTube, talked about girls and all that stuff. And something like maybe 11 p.m. Again, same sound like someone was closing the front doors. We look at each other because we heard the same thing, so we went to check it out. I guess beer plus tender courage is true. And yeah, the front door is still locked. Rest of the night was pretty nervous, but nothing else happened. I guess the worst part was that when we got outside, like 4 a.m., because Andrew was going to his home and I was forced to go back alone, but I stayed awake until the sunrise just to be sure. Personally, I got 2 theories about what was happening. First one, that house itself has some weird kind of presence. From what I know, it was bought but placed from my dad's hometown. The house is made of wooden logs and it was taken apart and put back here in one piece, but I don't know anything about the previous owners. I need to ask my mom more details. The reason I said I was scared when Andrew said that he feels like someone is watching him are stories of the first year when we moved into the house. Apparently, in that first year, my parents' room was barely usable because you get a weird feeling whenever you enter it. Just like when you enter a room full of people you don't like, and they stare at you with that "get the hell out dude" look. And Andrew sat at a chair opposite to my mom's room. My second theory is that all of the nearby area is more or less haunted since many people died here during World War II. So that's all for this story. If you have some questions, feel free to ask. Also, any ideas or explanations would be lovely. Case notes, file number 149. So indeed, the fact that this land was a place of battle during World War II leads me to believe there are restless spirits around the place. Nothing in this story screams out to me as malice, though. I think you'll be okay, but just be on guard. Not everyone who fights in a war is a good person. I'd have a go bag prepped, just in case you need to leave very suddenly. If you enjoyed the video, give it a like, and leave any thoughts you might have down below. I always like knowing what you guys think too.